Welcome to the third part of so today's agenda will be adding providers so that you can track the session. Then we will make a sign up for the user and a front end for it. And then we will talk about middlewares and how we can do conditional routing in the application. So let's start with adding providers. This is like a providers.tsx file. Essentially it will help us in managing session such that we know across all the routes that the user is logged in and we have users sign in information. So let's begin by adding providers.tsx in our file. Here we left our application by just adding a sign in button. Now let's make a file in the app directory. Let's call it providers.tsx. Now what essentially we need to do is, as we all know, the layout.tsx file is the root layout of our application. That means this HTML and the body tag and rest all the children components are the routes that you are defining in the app directory. That means we have an xyz and page.tsx. So slash xyz is reflected in this children. That means if you write a navbar component over here, if you had a navbar over here, it will be reflected across all the routes in the Next.js application. So this is where you can add a context to your application where you can write a session component, like a session thing, which has all the details of the sign in information. And because you are wrapping inside the children to the session, all the information will be available to the children. That means the routes that you are making inside the app directory. So let's first make the providers in this file, which is a separate file, and let's write some code in it. First you need to make it a client component, and then you need to import session provider from Next.auth React. Now what you can do is you can do an RFC, that means import export default function, and here you can wrap your whole component inside this session provider. So whatever you have written over here, just copy that and just make it a tag, and you need to accept children over here, and you can make the TypeScript error go away by writing here like this, or else you can go into layout and just copy this read only type, which is essentially it's React. If you know TypeScript, it is just a React and React node. So essentially it will be children only. So I guess this is right. Yeah. Now just add children onto this and let me format it. Yeah. So session provider is provided by the Next.auth library. Here you can see that. And now we are wrapping it under this a session provider, the children on it. Now what we will do is we will take this function and we will import it in the global layout. So import from /providers. Now we will just click on this and we will wrap our children around it. Yeah, we format it, and let me change the app name to course redx. Yeah, so now you can see the provider and the slash provider are wrapping the children. That means all the routes have access to this session. Now that we have added providers.tsx, what now we can do is make a backend route which can be known as SignUp, and here we can create a route.ts file. And now let us write our logic of signing up the user. First let us import next response and next request, and let us import our Prisma client from @prisma, and let us export default not default, export async function. There need not be any default function. We can write a post get delete put request also, so just exporting is enough. Now let us make the name. We will accept a request which is of type next request, so TypeScript. Now let us make a try catch. So here is our try catch, and first what we can do is, first we can initialize a Prisma for us. So Prisma client, did you mean, oh sorry, new Prisma client, yeah. Now what are we gonna accept from the user? If we go into the schema.prisma file, we can see that there is email, full name and username. So these three things let us accept from the front end. So let us accept it first. So we can write const username, then full name, then what do we have? Username, full name and email, I guess, yeah, email equals to await. We need to await it from request dot body, or it's let me check again. So my bad, it is actually request.json, because request is of next request type. This is of a JSON type. Now let us catch for any errors. So if username and full name and email are not existing, we need to return a 400 status code. Let me format that. So this simply says if any of the three parameters are not given, then we need to give a 400 status code. Now here the function will stop. So if it is not the case, let us search for a user. So let's go here, const user equals to await prisma dot, this should be small, user dot find first. I think there's a spelling mistake, yeah, where let us check if our email is of same type, like if the email exists already. Then if the user exists, then we can again return a 500 status code which says not already signed up, yeah, already signed up, because he is already in the database. Now if these all things aren't the case, we need to register user onto the database. So let's do that. We can create a user by typing over this. So I have just written already. So let me just format the code, yeah. So make a new user, store it in a variable such that you await prisma.user.create with your data field being username, email, full name and the date joint parameter, you can make it as new date. As soon as you make a new user and you have awaited it, you can then next response.json, and you can make new user and status code 201. Now you can also log the error.message, and you can return next response.json, where your message, you can just write message equals to error.message and status equals to 500. That seems fine. Now you have created a backend. Now let's create a front end for signing up the user. Adding a front end is quite easy. Just go to an app directory, create a sign up route, and you can go into page.tsx. I have already written the sign up logic, so I'll just explain it to you. So you can just install this library for now, and this is quite easy. So let me just showcase to you what I have written. First, let me install this library, npm install react hottoast. This is used for giving personalized messages which are like pop-ups onto your website. It gives a cool effect. So here, first let us look at this. First, it is a client component because you will be doing state management of the variables, that is username, email and full name, and you need a router such that whenever you click on the sign up button, it should route it to some other page. Next, we have a toast, that is a notification system such that a pop-up appears that you have signed up successfully, or what is the state of your signing up. Next, we have a use session which is coming from next auth. Here, whenever you sign in into the application, you have some amount of token which contains the data of your Google account, which we have extracted during next auth. So it will be having your email, it will be having your Google profile picture, it will be having some other information like the name of your Google account, whatever you have given the name. So those information will be in the use session. We also have another hook given by next auth, which is used to store session on the server side. So there is another hook which is known as get server side session, I guess. Server side session, get server session. This should be used in the server components, like if you have any actions in your Next.js application, you can just import this and you can initialize a session by writing const session equals to, you need to await it because it will be used on the server. So const server get server session, and this session will have all the details that you have in your use session hook. So this is for server side components, and this is for client side components. Now let's explore our function. First, we have three variables, two variables essentially. I'll tell you why we don't need a email factor. We can extract it from the session. So you have a username, you have a full name as a use state. I hope you know React to understand the statements. Then you have a router hook which is coming from next navigation, which will route when you click on submit button. Then you have a session which is coming from use session. Here I have already explained that. And here inside sessions data and the user, you will find a parameter known as email. So this email, you can get it from the session and you can store it in a variable. Now let us go in what we are returning as an HTML. So you have a form. First you have a h1 tag which says complete a sign up. Then you have a form which has an on handle submit. I will show you how we are handling that. So here you have a label called username, and you are just changing it to the set username. You are storing it in username. Similarly, you have a full name and a button to sign up the user. Now let us look at the cream of the logic that is handling sign up. First, it is an async function and it has an event attached to it. You can name it anything. It should be ideally HTML event, react.html event, but I have just for simplicity made it any. First, you will prevent default such that there are no refreshes taking place as soon as you land on your page. Then you will generate a loading toast signing up the user, some checkings that both should be there. Then you have a try catch statement where you will do await fetch and then write /API/signup, which is the route. If you see here, API/signup, the same route. The method is post because if we go into sign up, let me go into route, it is a post request, so that's why method is post. Headers are like JSON format. You send username, email and full name and await the fetch. If the response is okay, if it's not okay, then you have to throw an error. If it is okay, then you have to push it to /home. So this is how you can complete your signing up the user page. Now let us discuss. First, I would urge you to test this yourself and look out for errors. Now let's discuss how you can protect the routes, how you can do conditional routing depending on the signing of the user. So let's discuss middlewares. let us go to our source directory and let us create a file known as middleware.ts. In Next.js, there is only one middleware file inside the source app, which makes it little weird, because if you come from Spring or you come from the Merge stack, you can see that there are a number of middlewares that we write, and the middleware system is quite different in all of those frameworks, which is the right way to do it. But in Next.js, this is how we do routing. So let me just copy paste whatever I have to explain. First, let us see what is this thing. First let me comment out this. First let me focus on this thing, this bit. So here you can see this is an export const config, which has a matcher as a object, and here you can write all of the routes that you are defined in your application. So we have a home route, we have a home route, API auth sign in route, an auth sign in route, and a profile page and a home page. Now these are all the routes existing in your application. Now let's write a function which is a middleware, export function middleware, which accepts a next request. And here you can see we are checking for what is the current route of the request being sent. So let me just write it once again. It is coming from request.nextURL.path_name. This is path name. Yeah. So you have path in your control now, the URL that is being done. Now you define a public path route. You have /auth as public and API auth sign in as public, because you need these to be public, for example. Now is public path is a boolean operator which checks if the current path is one of these things. Okay, and if that is the case, then we do some conditional routing. Now this you have to write it, encode it by yourself. You can see the final code in the description of this video. This comes when you deploy your application, so no need to worry about that. You can comment it out when you are doing the development inside your computer, but when you are deploying the project, you need to comment this line, because this is the local thing and this is the production thing. So you have to extract the token from the cookies. So request.cookies.get and this parameter over here, which I have already showed you in another video. When you go into the network tab of your application, when you sign in, there is some value attached to this next auth session token. So you have to extract that token, and now we will check if the path is public and there is a token. That means you have signed in. That means you deserve to go to home because you have successfully signed in. But if your path is not public, that means it is a home path, and you don't have the token, then you have to go to /auth application. So this is the essence of your application logic, this middleware, and this is how you do conditional routing in Next.js. I know it is a little weird, but this is how for now we will do the conditional routing. Now I urge you to go ahead and try your sign up page. I need to test it yourself because I know this will be working, and I need you to do as much as practice as possible. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.